The thing is, my cam doesn't work. It's not working at all. Can you see the hyperlink? But I can't. No one can hear me. Can anyone hear me? Oh yeah. Hello everyone. Can anyone hear me now? Sorry about that. We try and just fix the mic. I'm trying to fix the mic. How about now? Is it better? There's no slide, just good evening everyone. How about now? Can anyone hear me? So now, test. Yeah, better. Right. First of all, sorry for this. We should start now, to be honest. Better, yeah? Okay. Right, we should start now. First of all, sorry for inconvenience that I made for you, everyone. Thanks for attending this webinar. My name is SULEMAN IDRIS. I'm one of the student advisors working with Marvin and Omar. Today's session will be about you guys, about the exam, is about the preparation for exams and the techniques that you need to do before you start the exam, during the exam, and after the exam. So I'm going to start talking about the day before the exam. What did I used to do, and how did I advise the other students to do? So the first thing I advise my student to do the day before the exam is, I know everyone will be anxious, stressful, which is nature of things. So in order for you to calm yourself down, the final day before the exam day is crucial. So the first thing you do is break it up for yourself. So in the morning, you can wake up in the morning, early morning, and you can start revising up till afternoon. Then after that, I think there will be a time where around 3-4 o'clock, this is my opinion, like everyone should stop revising by that time, because your brain will reach its capacity and you need to rest your brain, because the next day, the exam day, will be the day that you need everything. So for example, you have to sleep well, because I don't know how it is going to be this time, because in the past everyone used to go to Excel, so you have to wake up early in the morning, get your breakfast, and then you head to the exam hall. This time will be a bit different, I suppose, too, because I'm sure everyone knows the situations. GPSC decided to do an online exam, which is going to be a bit difficult, but hopefully not like before. So the day of the exam, first thing you do is you have to stop being nervous, calm yourself, try not to discuss anything before 1 hour before your exam, try to rest. I know some people start revising around you. It depends on the person. Like when I did my exam, I didn't talk to anyone 1 hour for the exam. I was focused, calm. I'm sure everyone will be nervous before the exam, but when you sit the exam, here we have to start thinking about how to calm yourself down. So you don't have to think. You have to be like, okay, you sure you'll be positive, and suddenly the exam won't be that hard. One thing I need to tell everyone about, the exam won't be hard. I'm sure everyone thinks the exam will be hard. It's impossible to pass it. But let me tell you something. The pass rate of GPSC exam is everyone passed this exam. The passing rate, like from 2015, when they changed the exam style, be 95%, then it will be 95%, 73%, 75%. So in this exam, more people passed than failing. So I'm going straight to the point now. I'm going to start talking about the exam. So I'm going to start talking about part one of the exam, which is numeracy. You'll have 2 hours of your numeracy test. What are you expecting from numeracy test? Surely everyone practiced well. To be honest, the numeracy part one, it won't be that difficult. I know some people think the exam part one will be the hardest one, but it's not. However, in order for you to pass numeracy, you need to be confident with your answers. So in part one, you're definitely going to have a prednisolone. So how many tablets have you supplied? So you need to know how to work out the prednisolone tablets. Reducing regime, so it's 40 milligrams, then 40 milligrams, then it comes to 35, then it's 30, then 20. So make sure you know this kind of questions, because it will be in your exam. That one question will be in your exam. I'm going to comment about the 60% pass rate this year, but let me start talking about the exam, and then after that I will tell you about this 60% rate. So in part one of the exam, you have to know you have to know about your doses, how to convert from milligrams to grams, how to calculate the number of days of treatments. You need to calculate the number of the dose, tablets, and days. you'll have question about displacement value. So you need to know how to work out your displacement value. Dilution, which is you might have one question on dilution. Sometimes you might not have any. So it depends on the day of the GPSC exam. So make sure you double check your answers. Make sure you bring your own calculator, because I don't trust the electronic calculators, because sometimes you might just in error type something and it goes wrong. Read the question twice. Try to understand the question while you're reading it. And if you find a question that you don't understand and you don't know how to work it out, just skip that questions, because it's going to take you more time. So make sure you do each question roughly in about 3 minutes. Definitely will be some question that doesn't take 3 minutes. So you'll have a question will take you 1 minute to answer that question instead of 3 minutes. So you can save up another 2 minutes for the harder questions. You'll have some question that requires external resources, such as SPC, or you'll have something like something else. Try to familiarize yourself with BMI, the BMI formula, because I don't think so they will provide it to anyone. So please BMI, because there was 1 or 2 questions in June last time and September. So make sure you know the formulas of each one of them. So before we move into part 2, is there anyone want to ask a question about part 1? Okay, part 2 of the exam, what I found everyone struggling with is the SPC. So familiarize yourself with SPC, because you'll have so many questions about SPCs. So make sure you know where to find the dose, make sure you know where to find the interaction, make sure you know how to convert from one dose to another, especially the insulins, because Gphc loves to put some SPCs about insulin pens. So they will ask you a question about changing from, for example, changing from from short acting to long acting. They will give you they will give you an SPC and short acting. Let's say for example, Nova Rapid, and they would say, okay, this patient is on this. Can you just change them to another thing, which is Lantus? So on the SPC, there will be like a part where you can change from one pen to another. So they will ask you how many units does the person wants to do. Sometimes it says add, sometimes it says you don't have to change any things. So yeah. There won't be any questions about you will might have some question about warfarin. You'll have more questions will be about common drugs. So make sure you know about your antibody, so such as your amoxicillin, ciprofloxacin, blood pressure medications, amlodipine, thiazide. All of these kind of drugs are very important. They will love to put this in the exam. Make sure you know the high blood pressures criteria. So if you're over 55, you're under 55. So make sure you know all of them. They will put so many questions about interaction. So make sure you know your interactions inside out. When I say interaction, the most common interactions that you find in common practice. They won't put any question that no one can answer. Every single questions everyone can answer. And they will put some questions about metformin, questions about antidepressant. So you need to make sure that you know everything inside out. They will add some scenarios, they might just there will be some questions is depending on the answer from the first question. There will be like question 1, so it's for question 1 A, B, and C. So if you answer A correct, you might be able to answer B, and if you answer B correct, you answer C, it would be correct. So this is what is the inside out of this part 2 of the exam. And now let me just, if anyone has a question, please type it down so I can answer each individual one. All right. So do we need to know this kind of conversion from stones to kg? I believe we need to. Some questions they might ask you for kg instead of stone. They might give you in the question stone, so you need to convert it to kg to get the answer in kg instead of stone. So this is one of question we need to know. The other question, okay. I don't think so. The answer will be straightforward. I don't think so. Gphc will put questions like if you change it from stone to kg, everyone has different answer. They will all have the same answer. Okay. Another questions. So how many SPC and calcs? Well, to be honest, I'm not sure how many, but maybe 1, 2. Maybe it won't be just SPC, it will be something else like, you know, the part of the, you need to change from morphine to dimorphine in your BNF. They might provide this in the exam and ask you to work this dose in and change it to dimorphine instead of morphine. They'll give you the question for morphine, and they will just tell you, they'll give you the table, and then from the table you need to change it from morphine to dimorphine. So it's not just only SPC in calculations. There will be a question of what other formulas we need to know. Most of the formulas will be provided in the exam. However, there will be like common ones, like such as BMI. That's what I'm thinking of. But the remaining formulas will be provided in the exam. So will be you might be able to find out your. I didn't memorize any, and I ask anyone not to memorize any single formula apart of the common ones such as the BMI, and if there's any other formulas that your tutor told you to memorize, go ahead and memorize it. But I don't think so. You need to memorize as much as like 1 or 2 formulas, not any other formulas. Okay. All right. Let's see this question. With BMI, would we need to know if the B is overweight or overweight? No. The question would be, so here's the question that I think would be asked in the exam about BMI. They might give you a patient's height and weight. They give you the height of the person, and they will give you the weight of the person, and they will tell you how many kg does this person want to lose. So you need to memorize the BMI formula, and from that you will need to find out. So if the person is X kg, so the perfect kg would be this, and they will ask you how many kg does Mr. A should lose. It won't be that difficult. It will be straightforward. It will be understandable. So when they ask the question, they give you everything you needed. Then you need to use the formula, find out, and then from there you'll find the answer. I hope this is help. Okay. It will be a paracetamol overdose graph calculation in common exam. To be honest, I haven't seen this before, and no one of the students told me about it. You might have it in part 2 of the exam where is this person has overdosed or not. So make sure you know how use the graph, but I don't think so. They might put it in calculations, but I doubt it. I really doubt it they put this kind of graphs. I know in past papers you'll see this kind of questions. Some of the past paper will be so hard, and I understand how hard it is. Even though some pharmacists right now, if you give them the question from past paper, they won't be able to answer it. So don't stress yourself about the past papers questions, because they're not that. There won't be any of these kind of questions in your exam. It will be something like you'll be shocked when you set part one of the exam, because the question will be so doable, so everyone can answer them. They won't put something. They'll put one or two questions like it's hard to answer, but everyone could answer them as well at the same time. Okay, I'm trying to read every single question, so I don't want to miss out on my. All right. This question: do we need to know the equivalent doses of Morphine? They will provide a table for you. So this is from the BNF. They will print out the table and they will put it in the resource pack. So from there you extract the information and you do your own, you do the calculation, and then you transfer from diamorphine from morphine to IV diamorphines. So they will provide that. GPHC normally does provide this kind of resources pack. So it will be in your resource pack. So you don't have to memorize it, because it will be difficult to do that. Okay. Allocation. Would allocation dilution comes up? Okay, that's a little bit dilution. I remember in my session I didn't have no dilution questions, but people who were in June, who sat in June, they had only one dilution questions. I know where everyone struggled to do dilutions, but the chances if there will be any question in dilution, there will be. However, it's not 100% you'll find a dilution in an exam, so it depends on the GPHC. About allegation, I haven't seen any allegations questions in my exam, and neither of my students who I spoke to face this kind of questions. Okay, okay, let's go through the next question. There is a search button. You can't try it, but this paper on the oh yeah, familiarize yourself with this kind of question, because it's something new. You need to know how to use it before you go to the exams. So please practice. I think the GPHC put 30 questions as a sample paper, so please go through them, because you never know, these kind of questions might come up in your exam. So don't just say I'm not gonna go through the practice paper that the GPHC posted. Please go through them. I know the answers. I know they will put 2 or 3 questions from them in your exam, because sometimes this happened to me. They provided 15 questions as a sample paper, and 3 or 4 of them came up exactly the same. So you guaranteed 5 marks from that paper. Okay. Show this question. Okay, Control F. I'm not sure about the Control F, if you can do this in the exam. So to be honest, if you can do Control F, that would be much easier for everyone to search for the answer. But I'm not sure if GPHC, I'm not sure how it will be in the exam, because in my time I used to have a paper-based exam, so I don't have any Control F to find it. But it's a good idea, smart idea. I was thinking of it, but I wasn't sure to say it to everyone. But if you can do Control F and find it out, that would be excellent, to be honest. Going to other question. Sure. This question. Okay. Okay, let's ask this for asthma guideline. Does the exam use PTS guidelines and also on calculation if not started 1 month, I assume? In the exam, they will give you the guidelines. So that will be like a resource in your resource pack. You will have either, I think most likely they'll give you the BTS guidelines, and from there you find the answer. Um, and if not stated 1 month, we assume that's 28. Always 28 days. 1 month will be 28 days. And on the exam calculation, they will tell you everything exactly what they want. So make sure you read the question properly. Okay, yes, there is. Okay, if there is a search button where you can find out control F, then I advise everyone to do it, because will save you more time to find the answer. Do we have to remember to do vaccination schedule? This is a good question. I think you need to know how to find the vaccination for children, because they might have one questions. So from chapter, I think this is one of the lowest chapters. They'll put one question. So make sure you familiarize yourself with the vaccinations as well. It's very important to know a 1-year-old what kind of vaccination he needs to have. 6 months, 1 month, 3 months. So you need to know them. There are so many videos on YouTube. So try to find the easiest way you can learn. I'm trying to answer every single tweet. Is there any chance finding more questions? Do we need to memorize? Yes, this is a good question. Do we need to memorize paracetamol? Yes, you definitely will have one question in the exam about this. So make sure you memorize your ibuprofen doses and paracetamol, because 100% you'll have a question about it. So make sure you memorize it. To be honest, it's not that hard to memorize any of them. Just focus on paracetamol and ibuprofen, because you will have one question in part 2. So they will ask you, a child is 6 months old and he requires paracetamol. What is the dose? And they will list from 80. They will list the option for you. So if you don't know the doses for each one of them, then you won't be able to answer the question. They won't give you any kind of workout or any tips. So you make sure you memorize them. Okay. Is there any chance? There's so many questions. I'm trying to go. Okay. See, I'm not sure. There is no control F. There is a search button at the top. So I can't comment on this because I haven't been through the new system. So if you can search while you're doing the exam, then that would be fantastic. If you can't, just familiarize yourself with SBC. So 4.1 would be your dose, 4.2 would be your dose, 4.3 would be like your interaction, pregnancy, and all of that. So you need to know all of that. Yes, sure. No problem. Would you say the mocks harder than the this is okay? Would you say the mocks harder than the actual exam? In reality, yes. So when I was a student, I did some of the mock papers, and I found them very difficult. And when you turn up to the exam, it will be much easier. They don't reflect the actual exam, but they will make you aware about the exam. So you'll have some questions where you can't even answer in the mock papers. So don't be stressed out when you can't answer most of the mock papers, because they are there just to learn from them. It's not the actual exam. So you just make sure you just familiarize yourself, and don't just say the mock paper, I can't pass the mock paper, so that's mean I can't pass the exam. It's the opposite. So people won't pass. So I spoke to a couple of students, and they were like, they didn't pass a single mock paper, but they passed the actual exam from the first attempt. So that's one of the things I advise people to do. Do you need to know? Okay. Okay. Do you have to know the full names of inhalers and GPRC will be nice this time. They put the brand name, and between the bracket they put the generic name, because they won't test you about the brand names. So they put the name of the medicine, and between the bracket will be the generic name, so you know actually what is the actually medicine is. Oh gosh. Okay, I'm trying to read your comments and find some of them. But yeah. Did you talk about the 60? Okay, the 60%, that's just everyone assumes it will be 60% pass rate. However, there's no evidence behind this. There's no evidence they said, okay, it will be 60% pass rate. What it matters is they will assess the performance of the whole cohort who sat the exam, and from there they will decide what is the pass rate. They can't just say 60% and you sit the exam and it'll be actually 60% people will pass the exam. I don't trust these kind of rumors, because it's just a rumors. There's no, that GPSC will not say that. So I read about it, but there was no actual evidence that 60% of these people sitting the exam will be 60% people pass the exam, the rest will fail. Now this is just the rumors. Don't listen to it, ignore it, because that's what makes people angry, anxious at the moment. So no, the answer for this, I don't believe in the 60% pass rate. I believe that more people will pass the exam, because most of you people worked as a provisional pharmacist, so you have more knowledge than other people who did not practice as a provisional pharmacist, and you know everything. In fact, you are ready for this exam because you worked as a pharmacist, and you know what is the common side effects of most of the drugs, and you know the most common drugs, and you know most of the antibiotics. So think of it, if you worked as a provisional pharmacist, it will be easier for you to pass this exam. And I believe in those people who become a provisional pharmacist and then worked as a provisional pharmacist. I think most of them will pass this exam, because while you're a provisional pharmacist, you learned a lot of things. So that will be an extra credit when you sit this exam. Okay, would you say that there is a lot of OTC content in the exam? OTC, you'll have like about 7 questions, 5 questions. Most of the OTC could be in your resource pack, so they might ask you they'll put a picture of something like a ringworm, and they'll ask you what kind of treatment can you give, and what can you give, and what kind of advice you can give to a patient. So know your OTC as well, because there will be easy questions about OTC. Okay, did you learn the doses of statins? I didn't learn the doses of statins, but I am aware like some statins you need to reduce the strength. So if you're taking, for example, I'm not giving the maximum we can give is 20 milligrams. You have to reduce the statin dose, or you're reducing the calcium channel blockers doses. So the strength actually, so if you give 5 milligrams of amlodipine, you need to reduce the dose of strength actually of the simvastatin or statin. So make sure you know this as well, because it would be in your exam. Regarding rejection, how much do you need to know? They might put it as calculations. So you might have it in part one, and you'll have some questions about part two where you need to do the numeracy with that calculator. So they might put it in there. They will just do some questions about antibiotics, at what is suitable for children to take, if they are like allergic. So for example, someone is allergic to amoxicillin, what is the next dose? What is the next drug that can use? Erythromycin, so and sort of. They won't focus too much about pediatric this time, I guess. Okay, let me just see this question. I had the like interaction between prescribed medicine like warfarin and OTC. Yeah, this is a common exam question. They will give you a person who takes warfarin, and they will tell you that the person is experiencing oral thrush. What can you give? Or you have to refer the person to see a doctor. So in this case, you need to refer the patient to a doctor to give nystatin, because that's the only safest drug you can use when someone is taking warfarin. So this is again is a common knowledge that you already have from university. What would you advise going over in the last few days? Well, try to go through the cardiovascular, for example, or the heavy weighted ones, because most of the exam will contain heavy weighted topics. So cardiovascular, you must go through that. You must go through antibiotics. Make sure you know the common antibiotics, interaction between antibiotics. Make sure you know what's it called, the central nervous system as well, because these kind of questions, what they can do in GPSD, they will link between them. They might give you a question where person is taking X medicine, so it is giving something for antidepressant, and then the doctor wanted to give antibiotics, for example, and you know some antidepressant can prolong QT intervals, so and some antibiotics can actually do the same. So they might just ask you which kind of antibiotics is safer to use when the person is taking, for example, citalopram or is taking sertraline. So yeah, make sure you know which one you can't give while you're in this kind of medicine. Do we have to learn NOAC doses? NOAC doses, well, there are 4 of them. So if I was you, I would learn them, because there are not that many of them, and only 4 of them. So make sure you know their interaction, which one you can give twice a day, which one you can give once a day, what can you give for someone who's so for dabigatran, if it's over 80, is below 80. So you need to know this kind of doses. Well, the calculation in part 2, they are straightforward, so I don't think so everyone will struggle with it. However, there will be like 1 or 2 questions of the calculation which I struggled during my time, and I just guessed the answer, because I didn't have time to work it out, because they were asking for so many steps, and for me to lose 1 mark in this question and I can secure another mark from another question, so that's it, because every single question has worth 1 mark, so there's no point of me stressing for 1 question that worth 1 mark, and in the same paper there will be 1 question which is much easier than the same question, and then get 1 mark for it. Please can you tell us areas to focus on? Your MEP will be most of the question will be about controlled drugs. So make sure you know your controlled drugs, which one you can enter, which one you can't enter, which one expires in 28 days, which one you can give, and then they make sure you know the labels. What are the criteria for labeling, which you have to put in label, and which is good practice, which one is a good practice, and which one is compulsory legal to put in the label. So make sure you know between them, because in the exam they might just tell you which one of the following is legal or is a good practice on the label. So make sure the date is there, that's legal, the name of the patient is legal. So you need to know these kind of things. And focus on them as well, focus on RP. So there will be like a section about RP, how many years you need to keep the RP log for, and where and how can you can breach confidentialities. So for example, police will come to you, but they have to have like a written form in order for you to breach confidentialities about a person. So you need to know this kind of stuff. Are we allowed to take our calculation input only in paper 1, not paper 2? And I think you can use your calculator in paper 1, and that's in regards to, that's what the Gphc said. You can use your calculator in part 1, and you can bring your own calculator. And they said there will be a calculator on your computer. So whichever you prefer. But if it was me, I will use my calculator. Okay, the results are at midnight. So normally they come first thing in the morning. It will be about 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. You will receive an email saying if you pass or you fail, and they will give you the breakup of your results. So in part 1, how much you scored, and what was the scoring, pass score. So yeah, I'm not sure if they're going to do the same this year. Everything has changed. Good question. On the day before the exam, do you recommend going over notes or doing a full mark or both? On the day before the exam, I can do just one. If I was you, I would just do a mock paper, and in the morning, first thing in the morning, you can do a mock paper, and then after that, just go through your notes quickly. It's not about, because there's no time for you to revise every single thing. Just revise the things that you're weak on, so touch on them, so you don't have to go over everything again. All right, this is another question. Is it better to do SPC question at the end of clinical paper? So I did this in my exam. I didn't leave every single SPC, because there are some SPCs you can do it straightforward. They'll ask you for the dose only, so you can check your SPC 4.2 and that. But there are some SPCs are long, quite long. So where I just skipped all of them and I left them towards the end of the exam, where you'll have like 20 minutes extra. Then you can go through these kind of SPCs and you answer all of them. But in calculation as well, you can leave them till the end, which I did. I left every single SPC question in part 1 till the end. Then I had plenty of time to go through them again, and then I answered every single one. Okay. Let's see, open, and I think we have 1 hour between one. Right, 1 hour before them, I think the best thing you do is just rest. Try to have some lunch, because you will be exhausted after the 2 hours of your part 1, because you'll be there focusing, and you will be exhausted. So rest between them. Try not to talk about part 1. Try not to think about part 1 after you finish it. So as soon as when you finish part 1, you're done. you don't have any time to come back for it. So that's it. If you finish part one, you finish completely. So you don't have to think about it twice. So there are some people who failed this exam because they think they didn't do well in part one, and then when they move to part two, they said they'll have, or they already have the idea that they didn't perform well in part one, and they will just not perform in part two, and they will fail the exam. And then the results will come out, and that you passed part one, but you didn't pass part two, and that in that way you'll be gutted because you thought you failed part one, but you passed it. So my the key part of this is do part one, finish part one, don't think about it, have a break, then after your break come back and just do part two. That's all. Don't think about part one after you finish it. After you leave the exam hall, don't think about it. It's gone, it's out of your hand. Start doing part two. Okay, right, let's see. Are there many SPC questions? No, I don't think so. There'll be so many SPCs in question part one. You might have one or two SPCs, and that's for your criterion clearance level, where you find the SPC and then you have to apply the formula and you find the answer. You have some other resource pack for, as I said before, for the dimorphin, and you change between patches to dimorphin, from patches to morphin. So yeah, you won't have a lot. The SPC most likely will be in part two. Okay, I'm taking another 5 more questions, and then I'll be okay. Did you do many mock papers? If so, to be honest, Opa, I didn't do that many past papers. I only did 2 or 3 because I did a lot. I did like more than I did 2 or 3 in particular. The remaining, so what I used to do, I did 3 full mock papers of part 2, but some of them threw me off. Then I stopped doing them because that increased my stress. So my stress level was high. So I said, I won't be able to pass this exam because I didn't pass the mock papers. So I just did 2 or 3 mock papers, and that's it. I didn't do any more because I felt stressed, because if you didn't pass the mock paper, that would be like a reflective, like I can't pass the actual exam. It's not right. So I just did 2. Okay, more questions. All right. For question on clinical governance, where is the best places to find information? Because most of questions are not straightforward. Clinical governance, you need to check in your MEP. If it's not in the MEP, I doubt you'll find any other places for clinical governance. Maybe ask your tutor to give you some resources. But again, I'm not sure if they will put some clinical governance in your exam. Okay, I think it will be challenging to do calculation in paper. You'll be surprised. There will be questions. It takes 1 minute. Exactly takes 1 minute or less because it's one step only. They will ask you for one step only. Okay. Just B has said. So clinical governance, check RPS website. So you'll find the answers there. Thanks for sharing. Okay. What specific OTC topic? There's no specific one, but most likely go through the most common ones. So go through cough and cold medications, go through the skin, and go through eyes, maybe. So eye infections. There will be such a common one. So they won't ask you for something odd. Okay. Tips on time management on the day. my tips to you, if you don't know the answer of the question, so for example, let's start with part 1. Start doing the question one by one. So if you can't answer the question, skip it, go to the next question, because it will be like 40 questions. You might have to maybe, so for example, you might have the first question hard. So if you're stuck on there for more than 3 minutes, you will lose lots of time. So when you go to question 2, it will be much easier than question 1. Sometimes because there are 40 questions, each question has 1 mark, exactly 1 mark. So you don't have to stress about the hard questions. So if you answer the easiest question, move on. So if you find something difficult, just skip it, leave it till the end, and try to find the easiest one. Make sure in part 1 you 100% sure about the easiest one. There will be some easy marks to do. There will be some question that requires 1 step instead of 2 steps. So this one, make sure you pass them. Make sure you know how to answer them. Make sure you double check your work at least twice. So do them once, do them seconds. Use your calculator, and write down your steps, because it's easy to find the mistake when you do the steps, because sometimes you don't need to, some of us don't write the steps down, so they will just do it in the calculator and find the answers. And when you double check your answer, it will be a different answer. Then you start stressing up yourself. All right. So thank you for everyone, and sorry again about the inconvenience. I hope everyone enjoyed this session. I wish you all the best for your exam, and trust and believe yourself. Be positive, and everyone in this webinar will pass its exam, and good luck with the exam. And thanks for attending this webinar. Thank you very much.